and she's going to be telling us about that fashion line and also why she started it. So she's come in with a number of models and some of her work. I think this is amazing work. If you really appreciate African fashion, you're going to love some of her work that we have here in studio. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What is it like starting a business at your age?
It's not easy, but I think if you're doing what you love, and it's starting to sound like a mantra that I'm always saying, that if you do what you love, it's actually not work. So I go to work every day, but I don't feel like I'm working. But that doesn't make it easy. But it is easy to keep on because I don't think I can do anything else other than make bags and tell African story through our art.
All right. So tell me about Waza Wazi. When did you start it? How is it like, trying to fit into this very competitive industry in Kenya today?
Okay. Waza Wazi is basically a play on two words, two Swahili words. Waza, to think. Wazi, open. So Waza Wazi is all about embracing diversity, being open-minded and being expressive in who you are. I think I personally, as Chebet, can only be the best I can be if I'm myself. So Waza Wazi is about embracing yourself and embracing others and appreciating that diversity. So in 2012 I just decided to do what I love, which is get into fashion space, and in the long run specialize in the high-end luxury leather products, and thereby trying to create our space, defining the brand as a strongly Afrocentric brand out of Kenya.
And so you identified a certain need for the market. What was the only thing that you're paying much of your attention to?
Well, funny you should ask that, because when I was employed in development work, I would travel out of Kenya to shop for shoes, to shop for bags, to look for a good tailor in West Africa. Imagine, because like many people, either you didn't know where to get these people that would offer you these services and products, or the experiences that you might have had left you with a sour taste. So I would travel and buy bags out of Kenya. So thought, why don't I make high quality clothes when I started, but now as we go along specialize in bags, because then ironically or by some coincidence, before I was employed, I would go to Dubai to import bags to sell locally. So why not make these bags here? So in 2010 and 11, I would say I would like to make these bags here, but my question was, how will I do it? But in retrospect, it's not that hard to make the bags here, because first we have a very creative people, innovative, and we learn fast. We have very skilled crafters. We are not as trained as the ones you will find in Italy, for example, because that's an age-old tradition to be a shoemaker. It's something that is held with a lot of pride. Here you might be a shoemaker because maybe you didn't go to school, and this is a quick alternative to just make a living. So I hope that even as I become more known as this African storyteller, because that's what I am with my bag, more people will understand that you don't need to fit a certain stereotype. Because I went to uni and did economics, but now I'm doing what was left aside for those who didn't make it there, so that we can take pride in our craft and our ownership of our own. So it's not just bags, it's also our music. Bands like Sauti Sol and Sarabi and artists like Michael Soy and the less known ones. All these are African storytellers. They're from here.
And so we still have a good number of record artists in Kenya and the rest of Africa today who think that shopping African is not really the way to go. We still have some of them who go to downtown LA to buy some of their clothes to bring them over here and show us, you know what, they've got the A style, the in thing. Have we really gotten to the level as local fashion designers of trying to divert their attention from going to LA to, you know, shop downtown LA and tell them, look, you can actually do your shopping in Nairobi and still look good, but keep it African?
First of all, who are these artists?
There's so many. I don't even want to mention their names because if I do, you get shocked.
Yeah. Well, I can see how that might still be a situation. And I like what Coke Studio and other platforms, TPF and all this, are trying to put a lot of emphasis in local styling and all that. I understand, but then we're not saying that we should, everything we have should be here, from here, you know. But I think most of these artists, I hope they also shop locally.
They do. Well,
they do.
They'll probably put on a jacket from somewhere else, and then the pants will be African, and maybe a pair of shoes from somewhere else. But you know, they try to balance. But at least they are trying to pick up.
I think so. I think so. There's a healthy balance, because also even the caliber of fashion design graduates, you know, you can get a really fantastic outfit made from say Kenya Poly or Mark and Style or all these local fashion schools. So what we need to do is to expose them, and I guess that's what Nairobi Fashion Market is trying to celebrate, both local designers, young and the established ones, as well as retailers who are selling products from abroad locally. So I guess we are coming to a place where there's a healthy compromise, and hopefully with a healthier emphasis on our end.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, now let's come, and speaking of showcasing, these are some of your classic designs that we have, and I think I love that bag over there. I hope it won't cost me an arm and a leg just to own it. But the models look very beautiful. And we have Ellie Chep here, who also does PR for
of PR for Wazawazi.
All right. So you also do what he's wearing as well?
No. That he can tell us who made this for him.
Is that Kenyan made or?
Okay, yeah, this is actually Kenyan made. It's actually handcrafted and actually tailored by a designer called Lewis Wanyoike. He's actually an emerging designer, and he's really critical and stuck to gentleman's fashion, and that's the reason as to why he's been my positive choice and all the everyday option when it comes to outfits.
All right. And tell me about the bags, or do I let Ellie tell us about these bags?
Yes.
Tell me about them.
Okay, to begin with, we have a collection of very beautiful, unique and edgy bags. You can actually see our bags have a very unique and Afrocentric detail as compared to the normal kind of luxury items you find. So this right here is one of our unique backpack, unisex backpack called the Karuti backpack.
Yes.
It's really nice for the outdoors. It can also be a reflective piece for the pregnant ladies and the moms who really have to carry their kids around. Stash your water bottles, your milk bottles here, and just walk around. Actually, it's a perfect go-around bag whenever you travel, whenever in style, and a functionality item in your wardrobe.
It can also work as a laptop bag.
Yeah, exactly. It can work as a laptop bag. It can work as a safari backpack for the urban safaris. Because actually at Wazawazi, what we try embody is we try give the functionality edge and at the same time give it an Afrocentric feel. As you can see inside, you can actually see we give it a very perfect finishing, but at the same time maintain the unique blend of the funky vibe going on. So basically, this is called the Karuti backpack. This right here is called the Alei bag. It's actually our newborn baby in the collection. And we have our Kiondo bag, which is also our latest edition. That is Afro-funky and colorful for the ladies, for the chic. You can actually just walk around town and just keep it sleek. And then we have our signature ladies bag called the Kitoni bag. it's actually been a spirited embodiment of Wazawazi, because it's been able to travel along across all African continents to Europe and worldwide. We've been able to sell copies of it and the product to as far as Middle East, the Australasia, America, and it's been a good global representation of what as Wazawazi we can be able to craft for the fashionable soul.
All right, tell me about the one right over there, the brown.
This is actually also one of our creatives.
Yeah.
It's a new addition also, but we haven't yet launched it.
All right.
But it's more of a copy-paste version of the Kitoni bag, only that we've tried to do it in a different color, which is tan brown, and give it a perfect detailing as compared to this. So basically, if you see the bags, it's more of the hide we've added on to this to give it a luxury feel, and also the detailing of the beadwork, where we've been able to collaborate the beadwork and the leather and the hide.
All right. Yeah. And the one right next over there?
This is an Alay pass. It's more of a walk around tote for the ladies, more like a pass tote for the ladies.
Yeah.
You can easily just go for the outdoors, a night out, an evening date. It blends in perfectly well.
All right. Yeah. And well, I would like us to continue this conversation, but that is going to be after we get the main updates on what's happening across the East African region. So I hope I can keep you around for quite some time. So we can talk about how networked you are, you know, aside from the Kenyan market that you're looking at. Where else have you spread your wings to? I know that Ellie did talk about, you know, the Middle East and all that, but how wide is your market, and who exactly are your connectors, or do I call them middlemen to an extent, that connect you to these other outside markets? So would like to have that conversation, and that's going to be coming up shortly, but we'll now take a short break. Do stay with us. The fashion conversation continues.